Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shangok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at why Nanahoshi was at the brink of death and how Rudy saved her. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel and say my thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's start with the topic at hand. Nanahoshi Shizuka stood at the brink, and without Rudy, she would have taken a step further. And the third episode of the second part of the second season of Mushoku Tensei showed how Rudy has grown, and gave us a glimpse into the otherwise very closed off and reserved character of Nanahoshi. And why this episode was also so important for Rudy and his character development is quite obvious. After his own traumatic experience, Rudy withdrew from society, completely lost himself, drowning his pain and trauma in video games, media consumption, and plenty of solitary one-handed activities. This of course has profoundly changed and harmed him. He now knows what it is like to be mentally on the edge, and how broken and sad Nanahoshi must have felt. So Nanahoshi's fate resonated with him, because he himself repeatedly stood at such points, not only in his old world, modern Japan, but also after he was abandoned by Eris, because he seemingly wasn't good enough for her. His world collapsed, and he struggled for years with himself and all the problems that came with it, leaving their mark on him, and it showed. Hence why Zanoba and even Julie noticed how unwell Rudy felt, because he felt reminded of his very own darkest moments. And similarly for Nanahoshi, her world collapsed when her magical circle didn't work out, because it was the only way she could possibly return home. Remember, Rudy had nothing left in his old life that he could have returned to, not even a home. And Rudy was born into this world full of magic. And why that was even possible, I will explain in another video, but for Rudy it was a world filled with wonder, a chance to start anew, and he grew up protected in a safe house. He could learn magic step by step, and he had an incredible talent for it, because he could learn like an adult. He knew how amazing magic could be, and as someone who had no magic in his old life, he was also very eager and motivated to learn it. And in addition to all of this, he had also the body of a child and the mind of a child, which was biologically predisposed to learning languages and new concepts, combined with the support of his new family and with Roxy Migurdia. Rudy made a very positive experience and made many positive associations with this new world. Nanahoshi, on the other hand, was suddenly thrust into an apocalyptic landscape, the very thing that the great mana disaster had left behind. She herself had no mana of her own, and no way back, no family or friends in this world. And she had plenty of family and friends left in Japan. She was then found by none other than dragon god Orsted, cursed to be hated by all sorts of creatures for all eternity, something that undoubtedly brought nothing but trouble for Nanahoshi as well. For her, the new world was frightening, lonely, bizarre, and extremely dangerous, since she was mana and thus defenseless. So it's very understandable that she wants back, that she longs for her family, her friends, and her boyfriend, with whom she had just argued. For her, the world of Mushoku Tensei became a living nightmare, and to see her circle not working, and to realize that no matter what she draws, it's physically impossible to connect everything in a way that has the desired effect on the channeled mana, broke her heart, because it meant she could never return. And that's why it was also really good that Rudy realized that Nanahoshi was broken, and it would be good not to leave her alone, because Rudy himself was once at such a turning point. And he turned his own dagger against himself, and only Soldat had saved him. And Nanahoshi also had the dagger with her, as Sylvie found out later. And secondly, Rudy could understand Nanahoshi's pain and suffering, just as he only became his old self again when he met and laid with Sylvie, who truly loved him. Nanahoshi would only be fully back to herself when she had hope of returning to her own world once more. Which brings us back to the first episode of Mushoku Tensei's second part of the second season, and the doll that Rudy, Zanoba and Cliff had found, which now became incredibly important because there were the magical circles and structures inside of it which controlled the doll, and they were three-dimensional. And that was the crucial hint that gave Nanahoshi new courage after it had been shown to her. And after a lot of effort from the members of her friend group, because Cliff also studied magical circles and Zanoba studied the doll, and thanks to a large amount of Rudy's mana, the experiment was eventually successful, and Nanahoshi managed to establish a connection to the old world and summoned a plastic bottle. And again, without Rudy, and without Rudy's experience, Nanahoshi would probably not be alive today. So it was a really interesting episode, even for different reasons than usual. And it is kinda ironic that Rudy, only because he suffered so much and so much trauma and so much despair, was able to recognize that Nanahoshi desperately needed help and someone to care for her. So just like Soldat has taken care of Rudy, Rudy now has taken care of Nanahoshi. Also shout out to the animation team who managed to completely comprehend and visually represent fantasy physics so well. You immediately understood where the mistake in Nanahoshi's sketches and circles were, and how it could be corrected, and how the circle ultimately was structured and layered. And I also think it is brilliant how the whole magic system is so profound and complex that even a subcategory like magical circles provides enough material for entire storylines. Also, the rest of the magic system itself and how it works, disturb magic, the fact that Rudy can't use healing magic without reciting the spell, and why that is, makes the anime simply fantastic. There's simply so much depth and so much lore to it that there's always something new to discover. Also, the finally humanizing moment when Nanahoshi sang karaoke was amazing. We could see that behind the silent 7-star facade, this cold exterior, this was just a young girl full of life, wanting to go home, celebrating an important step on her way. And finally I want to shed some light on the character of Bodyguardy, because after Nanahoshi managed to summon a plastic bottle, and when all the food was ordered, Bodyguardy joined and behaved very regally. Bodyguardy is always portrayed as very carefree, but he's also a ruler, and that was seen during the dinner. First, he went into the etablissement, ordered everything on the menu, invited everyone, and then asked what was even being celebrated. Of course, he also took care of the bill. And Rudy was so impressed by how Bodyguardy spontaneously led the group and took care of them without being asked to do so, that Rudy even saw him as his role model in a quiet moment of his life. For Rudy, who still suffers from low self-esteem and often underestimates himself, seeing how casually and regally Bodyguardy spontaneously led the whole group of very different characters really impressed him. And by the way, if you're fed up with these slice of life episodes, they are almost over. Now comes the action. And with that said, now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on the third episode of the second part of the second season of Mushoku Tensei? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Other Daddy Other, ASK, Bad Guy Yi, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Cher Gox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.